Welcome back to the channel for a quick follow-up video on my AVerMedia LiveGamer 4K capture card. Actually, maybe it's AVerMedia, I'm not real sure. This one's probably my mistake, LiveGamer game streaming capture card. Who would have thought that this thing would actually, capture gaming? Because it definitely doesn't straight out of the box. I'll explain. Here we have a station of play of the PlayStation 3 variety that I thought was having some hardware problems. Turns out it's fine. It was kind of just a fluke issue, so the footage I attempted to capture off of this thing, I didn't really need to capture anyway, which is good news because it wouldn't. One of the things I was the most curious about with this card was how it was going to handle HDCP, I think, handshaking, over HDMI sources. Now, HDMI, as we've come to know and love it, was a standard initially developed by, I think 4 or 5 different major manufacturers and 4 or 5 different major Hollywood studios, which made it basically as unfriendly to the consumer as possible and installed a bunch of copy protection crap on it that makes your life difficult. When I bought this card, I was curious how it was going to address this, and it looks like the answer is that it doesn't. Now, the interesting thing about that is computer manufacturers, basically just about as soon as HDMI was invented, decided that they didn't want to pay that licensing fee, so they put DisplayPort connectors on their computers instead. And I would say that began almost as soon as 1080 out became the standard feature on computers. Now, this has gone by the wayside in recent years as consumers have accepted HDMI. So getting a DisplayPort cord these days is kind of a hassle for most people. It's much easier to deal with HDMI. But since this is open source, it doesn't have to comply with all the HDCP security stuff. And it doesn't. So the interesting thing to me is this thing, being a computer capture card, why didn't they just put DisplayPort connections on it and off it goes to the races and no problems? But whatever, they didn't. For whatever reasons, they didn't. With that bit of history out of the way, I'll get everything plugged in and show you what it actually does. So as you can see, I've got everything all plumbed up now. We're going to go ahead and turn the PlayStation on. And my capture software is reporting there's no signal because there's not a signal yet. It's still booting up. After just a short few moments, it comes up with a copy protection error because it's not going to allow you to capture content between these two HDCP compatible appliances. Again, they could have avoided this just by putting DisplayPort on the card where there is no compliance requirement, but whatever. I don't know why they didn't. I guess they're afraid of getting sued. I don't know. The added insult here is that the pass-through out of the backside of the card still works. That's you viewing the PlayStation menu through the AVerMedia card, and it's just when it comes down to the capture PC that it gets angry. With that said, I gotta appreciate the Willy Wonka style, no, please, don't, warning with the message, do not use HDMI splitters to bypass copy protection. So immediately upon reading that, I went down to the chocolate factory known as Amazon and bought the cheapest 2-port HDMI splitter I could find. Turns out this is a pretty common thing, and people use these things to get around it all the time. Even when they're not trying to do anything interesting like capture video, just sometimes their cable box and TV won't get along, so they have to put one of these in line. Just goofy. Anyway, let's see if that works. So, contained within that box, we have the HDMI splitter itself and a power brick. No HDMI cord. You will need to furnish an extra on your own because we have to plumb into the box and then back out. And there you can see that's what I've done. This guy's going off into the PlayStation. This guy's going off to the capture card and then just plugged into power. Let's give this wiring disaster a shot and see what happens. All right, same story as before. Power on. Thanks for nothing, splitter box. Well, that didn't do it. I'm going to try and just move it over to port 2 on the splitter box. Or that was port 1. Nope. Wonder what happens if I plug another screen into the other side of it. Nope. So it looks like at least that splitter box isn't going to work. Guess I'm going to go order another couple and see what happens. Oh, not so fast. This time I went into the other Willy Wonka warning and went into the software that came with the card and disabled HDCP capture, which it said to do if you're recording off an iPhone. That's why I dismissed it the first time around. And plugged directly into the PS3, it now just produces a black screen in the capture software and on the bypass screen. If I plug my splitter back in, now it works just fine. To see if this is just a fluke or if it's a lasting solution, I have a Blu-ray set here that should absolutely be copyrighted. This is my Dark Knight Blu-ray set. So it's all 3 of the Nolan Batman movies. Right, this thing is actually my dad's PS3, and I think the Blu-ray laser in it may be dead, but we'll try it anyway and see what happens. If not, we can dig out a DVD and give it a shot. I don't know if DVDs are as HDCP compliant or not. Yeah, sure enough, it's just not going to load a Blu-ray. We may or may not get around to fixing that someday. Let's try DVD. Just so happens I have a very appropriate title for the day. Reads it. Looks like it's going to play it. We'll see if we get any kind of warnings. Looks like it's probably going to play. The warning telling me I'm going to be murdered because I'm making a backup copy of my own property for critical purposes on YouTube. YouTube manual content reviewer, should it ever come to that. Yeah. Okay, so it looks like it's going to play and capture that just fine now. Just to complete this whole topic, I've gone out to my living room and stolen my 4K Ultra HD DVD player out of the setup out there. All right, so to start off with, I've just got it plugged into the capture PC without the splitter. Let's turn the player on. And it's doing the exact same thing the PS3 did. So black screen on both things. Worth mentioning, this is a Sony Blu-ray player, and they tend to be pretty DRM happy. So there I've got the splitter plugged back in. And pow, menu came up at least. And through the magic of forgetting to hit record on our screen capture, I already know what's going to happen, so I'm just going to kind of jump to the end for you guys. This is a 4K disc of Interstellar. It comes up and complains about you need a 4K device to watch this appropriately. I put Pacific Rim in before this. It does the same thing, but it will still allow you to watch the movie. We go to play. We get the "we're going to prison forever" warning. Once again, YouTube, for evaluation purposes. If you were truly trying to make a bootleg, this is actually the dumbest possible way to do it. Nobody's going to buy a $200+ capture card and go through all this hassle to do that, which is why this whole thing is ridiculous to me, but whatever. See, it looks like we got movie up. We do. And good grief, what a beautiful movie it is. If you haven't seen Interstellar, it's worth your time. Anyhow, so there you go. The only thing you need to get your $230 capture card to actually capture is, a $12 box to jailbreak it first. I'm wondering if this is some weird quirk of my particular configuration here or something, or if maybe more modern consoles don't have this problem. The reason I'm wondering that is because no one is complaining about this issue in any of the Amazon reviews. People are specifically saying they're using this card for capturing PS4 Pro, PS5, so on and so forth. You would think if this were a widespread issue, I wouldn't be the only idiot out there with the problem, but I am an idiot, so maybe it's my problem. Whatever. Anyway, until I learn otherwise, this is going to be my solution to get around the issue. Seems to be working just fine. I am just as likely to want to capture PlayStation 3 or Xbox 360 as I am anything else, so at least now we've got that issue sorted out. So as always, guys, appreciate you stopping in for this video. We'll catch you on the next one, hopefully with working video capture in the future.